Alright, hey, howdy folks. I thought I'd give you all a bit of an update on what I've been doing this past week and what's being worked on. I don't really have any significant steps that need to be done today, but let's see where we're at. I've got a lot of stuff going on here. We'll start with a couple big batches. So this big old guy in the space age thing over here, that's the mead we started last week. Now, like I was mentioning in that video, well, one of them at least, things have been running real hot and fast here, and yeast doesn't play too well with high heat. It starts making a bunch of weird solvent-y like alcohols instead of good alcohols. So my last big batch, it was a bit harsh, and I had to add some oak and a little vanilla to kind of mellow it out. I think that came alright. But I didn't want this one to run so hot because it's a real light flavored honey. I want those delicate flavors to not get overwhelmed by any funkiness that the yeast is doing from too high of heat. So I got these little insulated bags that my girlfriend had from, I don't know, some produce delivery thing. Cut a little hole in the top of one, stuck it over there, and with that, get this off. There we go. I'm able to just slip some ice packs in there. Keeps this about 62 to 65 degrees steadily. So I switch those ice packs out when they start getting a little warm and soggy, and just refreeze them, switch them out with some other ones, and that's been keeping this thing real nice and cool. So it's going to take longer for the yeast to eat through all the sugars, but that also means that more of the flavors are going to come out in the end. So that's working real well. If you remember, we started at 1.1 specific gravity. We're down to about 1.05. Meaning we've got, I think that's about 5 or 6% alcohol in there now. And we got quite a ways to go still, so I might take another week or two with that cold temperature. We'll just play that by ear. Going over to our next one, the BDSM guy over here. That is a Shiraz wine kit that I picked up a while back. And this is in the secondary ferment stage, that's why it's in a slightly smaller one. It also has some little oak toasties floating around in there, and something else. Not sure what that is, but that's probably not supposed to be in there. It's like a little piece of paper or something. So this looks like this is pretty much done with its fermenting. I took a reading a couple of days ago, and it was at like 0.992. So right now we're just waiting for it to pick up enough of that nice charred oakiness. A couple of days ago it was still pretty tart, so I'm going to let it sit for a little while longer before filtering out those oak toasties and moving on to the finishing steps, which are clarifying it, stabilizing it, and waiting for that to finish, then we'll bottle. So now, those are my big batches. Now onto my little experiments here. These are my favorites, actually. I like doing big ones, doing by the book, doing everything written down and by the numbers and making sure you have a nice, good, solid batch. What I like even more is trying new stuff and sometimes screwing up. So this first one here is just a hard water test. It's sugar and water. It's regular, cane sugar, I believe I used. I didn't even use corn sugar. And a ton of yeast nutrient, because there's nothing else in there for it to eat but sugar and water, so you have to add everything. I tried this once before, and I guess I didn't add enough nutrient, so it got this kind of skunky, sulfurous smell to it. Not entirely pleasant. Ended up making a lemonade out of that, which is pretty tasty. In fact, I'm drinking a little bit of it right now. You just kind of gotta not smell it when you drink it. So I'm trying one more time to come up with a flavorless hard water. And that's literally just for fun because, you know, how hard would it be to go get some grain alcohol and pour it in water? But this is interesting, so that's what I'm doing. Second one here, I just started this yesterday. And it is going like a champ. Hopefully it's not going to start stinking. I'll keep up the nutrient in there. Second one here is a grapefruit ginger honey wine. It's kind of a big old mix. Picked up just a cheap half-gallon of grapefruit juice at the old grocery store and put in a couple ounces of ginger. I added, I think, 2 pounds of honey to that to boost the gravity up to about 1.1. It's a good starting gravity. And it is very strawberry milkshake looking at the moment. There's a lot of pulp in those juices, and so that's why it's so milky. Not to mention that, you know, yeast and nutrient and whatnot will keep things looking milky too. But that is smelling amazing, and it's still going through its primary stage. That'll be interesting to see if it comes out well right at the beginning, or if something needs to be done to it after the fact to kind of make it palatable. Grapefruit's a bit ginger, or a bit bitter. You might have to stabilize it and back sweeten it, kind of take the edge off of that. And who knows what that ginger's going to do. It could be real spicy. Right, third one here, we've got a straight agave nectar. I guess you can't call it a mead, but it would be if it were honey, it would be a straight mead, because it's just agave nectar. I picked up some brewing agave from a place called, 21 Missions Agave or something, over in California, off the internet. It's real dark, real molassesy. This one had a real hard time taking off. I tried a smaller batch, like a half-gallon batch. It just didn't do anything. So I went ahead and screw it, do a big one, pumped it full of nutrient, and now it's finally taken off. That should have a really interesting, like heavy dark flavor once it's done. I want to see how much agave actually comes out, or if it just comes out molassesy. Here we've got a little bit of the wine from when I racked it over into the secondary fermentator. That wine there. It didn't have quite enough, so I filled it back up with some agave nectar and water to kind of change the profile a little bit. It looks like it's just about done with its primary fermentation. You're getting those real small bubbles now. I'm still chugging along nicely, but it should be finishing up here in the next several days. Now, the closest one to done is this guy. It was a mix of half sugar and half honey. Came out real light. I added a ginger tea to it while I was doing this other ginger one. Just grated some ginger, steeped it, poured that in. Then I added some agave nectar for sweetness and a touch of vanilla. I'm trying to decide if I want to add a little lime and or lemon juice in there, kind of balance off the ginger a little bit before I bottle it. So you can see it's getting real clear. You can see through it nicely. I used a bentonite clarifier, or refining agent. One of the ways I check clarity, if I take my flashlight and I stick it in there. I wonder if you guys can see that. and you see if anything, any sort of particles catch in the light. So we're looking pretty good here. So I'm thinking right after I end this video I'm going to do some tasting and testing with the lime and lemon and see if I can come up with something better than what it already is. And then bottle it. I can't really show you guys bottling because it takes two hands, but maybe someday I'll get some sort of apparatus. Not like it's all that interesting anyways. Anyways, that's my update of all the cool stuff I got going on. You guys have a good one. Deuces.